We're just lining up one interview after another, and they're all entrepreneurs. So my name is Jeffrey Davis, and I am host of Radio Entrepreneurs and chairman and founder of MAGE LLC, the management consulting firm. Sitting here with the team, Chris and Nathan. We put this whole thing together. We hope that if you know any entrepreneurs, you will contact Nathan. He's always looking. And our next guest, Kerri Salls, advisor, Value Growth Results. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jeffrey. It's great to be here.
Thank you. What are we talking about today, Kerri? Value growth results?
Well, value growth is where I'm really trying to get the word out to business owners that they are underperforming and they're not achieving their full potential, and that it's not that hard to do inside the business.
Well, give us some more details on that.
Well, it's the idea that if you focus on systematizing growth and optimizing operations, you can bring more value to the bottom line. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you open up opportunities for funding, financing, or even liquidity if that's your choice.
And how do you impart that knowledge to owners?
Well, I do a couple things like my own podcast to let owners know that there's a wide range of areas that they need to be addressing that they can find help on to actually bring more value to the business. I run my own webinar to introduce people to the model that I produce, and then I walk people through a whole system so that they can actually deliver inside the business without going to market. They can actually increase the value of their business at least 300%, just on the intrinsic value.
Well, 300% is very good. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your model? Can you give us the sort of structure of how it would work?
I can give you it's exactly what I cover in the webinar because it's a big number that people say, yeah, right. And therefore, I'm trying to say, it's not only is it realistic, it's something that everybody can do, where so many businesses, they're comfortable and they've settled into that comfort zone, and I want them to wake up and become that charging rhino again, going after all the success they possibly could have in their business. So we start with their vision. And in a vision session, we're looking at where would they really want to take this business and what's stopping them. Where can we take this that the entire team can rally behind them and say, we're excited about that? And it's not just about numbers, it's about their vision for the entire company. And based on that vision and how we would go about it, we then look at where are they now in terms of their strengths, weaknesses, more specifically, where's their risk exposure, and where are they implementing good practices, best practices across all areas of the company, and where do we need to make improvements to be able to bring more value to the bottom line. And I'm not focusing on increasing sales or cutting costs. It's about all of the implementation of best practices, professionalizing the business that will transform everything about the people, the team, the process. When we figure out where they are in their possibilities, then we actually strategize for every area of the business as a team rather than in silos, with sales developing a sales plan, operations developing an operations plan. All of the leaders of those areas have to sign off on each of those plans so that it's a unified effort towards clear, consistent corporate objectives. So instead of going after their own pet projects and getting lost in rat holes and silos independent, everyone is focusing on corporate objectives first. But then we don't just leave people with a plan, which is something you can get from any consulting firm. We're then saying, let's move this into operations. Let's implement all of this. And we have people accountable for implementing step by step this entire plan. And we lay out the steps and we teach people, and we have the division owners actually being accountable for what their team is doing, integrated towards that plan through a piece of software where there's a dashboard for the owner to actually track what's going on throughout the company. So he knows which pieces are on board, which pieces are struggling, which pieces they don't know what their next step is. And that's where, as advisors overlooking this, we can help them keep all the pieces in play and not lose track of them. And because we're implementing best practices, as you well know, Jeffrey, think about a company that you bring them to a point where they're really excelling, and then you go away. They all fall back onto their bad habits. They don't stay with the high standards that we've implemented. So I stay on board for a third year to be sure that not only have they learned these best practices, but they now have become part of corporate culture and the DNA of everyone that joins the team, so that they're institutionalized as part of the company.
So I have a couple of questions because you said so much. You said the third year. So does that change your engagement from the start, how you structure your engagements?
Each of those 3 phases is a different structure.
Okay, interesting. So it's modularized.
It is modularized because they don't know where they're at or when they're ready for the next piece. I'm not requiring anybody to do anything besides the module we're stepping into.
That's okay. So the second question for our listeners, because you're talking about a lot of substance. Who are you? Who's Kerri? What's your background?
I have an MBA from Boston University from eons ago, and I am a certified value growth.
It was a smaller school, a lot smaller.
It was smaller. It's the old business school. Questrom was just opening when I finished up, if that helps date me. But the point is that with that foundation in operations and international marketing, when international marketing was a brand new field, between that and growing up in high tech for 10 years on the technical side, with all the new innovations, I then spun out and became a consultant back in 1988, where I was working
On your own or for someone?
No, on my own. And I was the only firm that wasn't a placement agency doing technical documentation for tech startups from Worcester to Manchester to Providence to Boston.
Wow.
And we would go in, we would scope out what they needed for first product ship, and we would deliver the complete document set. In those days, you shipped a physical disk with a physical set of documents. So that was a long time ago. But at the same time, we were doing this at one-third to one-half off of what the agencies would be able to offer with the placing of a consultant to do that. And I was lucky that they were referring business to me because they had no one who could project manage at scale. From there, that morphed into serving the same clients on the strategy side because they needed somebody who understood where they were as entrepreneurs, opening up new niches, that they couldn't go to their investors and say, I don't know what's the next step. And they couldn't go to their team that they had rallied around them to build this new vision. So they would brainstorm with me, and they were getting more value, and I was having a whole lot more fun. That morphed a little bit into focusing on exit planning for 10 years, where I was just trying to wake people up that, in fact, they were shortchanging themselves by leaving up to 50% of the value of their business on the table because they didn't know how to demonstrate that value or to pull it out of goodwill and be able to track it and measure it to command the value they truly deserve from their business. I'm trying to take that upstream now and say, let's work on that value a whole lot sooner than just when you want to cash out. Let's be able to increase that value and demonstrate it so when you go back to the bank and you need a new loan, that you get better terms. When you are looking for new investors, you're going for the next round of investing, you can actually demonstrate the professionalism of your business, that you are scalable, that you are sustainable without you at the helm, and therefore the value is in the business. All of this, what I'm doing now is a culmination of everything I've been doing for 20 years. The real secret sauce is that I now have software behind me that backs up everything I've always been saying, but it's not just Kerri speaking anymore because I have these tools that are world-class that just deliver what I'm talking about.
Last question. Who's the we that you keep referring to?
The we, I have a back office team of 5 that make it possible for me. And then as client needs come up and I'm not the expert.
You have a team on staff.
I have a team that
Great.
They can show up.
Again, we've been speaking with Kerri Salls, Advisor of Value Growth Results. Kerri, if someone's looking for you, how would they find you?
I think the best place to get more information is the website 3xvaluegrowth.com.
Great. That's a great name. My name is Jeffrey Davis. This is Radio Entrepreneurs. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more entrepreneurs after these short messages.